Present.
Thank you. Next on the agenda.
Item B, Chair's remarks.
Okay, I have nothing at this moment. I'll probably just ask them as we go along, questions that I have. And next on the agenda,
Item C, approval of the minutes from the July 18, 2024 meeting.
So moved.
got a
Support.
motion to approve and supported. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Seeing none, minutes are approved from the July 18th meeting. New business.
Item 1,
We have a couple of housekeeping items, right, to approve.
Yeah.
Should we do that now?
receiving files.
I'll make a motion to move items 1, 2, and 3, receive and file.
Okay, do I have a
Support.
second? Been moved and supported to approve those and put them into the record, the reports. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, minutes are approved, or those items are approved. The, and Madam Clerk, the next item.
We want to move on to item E, such other matters as oh,
The updates.
I'm sorry, the
Yeah,
update from
thank you.
Corporation Counsel James Heath and Gregory M. Hurst from
Okay.
Facilities Management. and
Corp
Planning.
Counsel and Mr. Hurst. Like to get an update from you. We didn't get a printed update by email that we usually get.
You didn't receive after our last full board, you didn't receive the report?
We sent it out.
We
It was
got
sent
that
out.
one. Was
Yeah.
that the most recent?
That is the most recent, but we are going to amend it with something you're going to hear about today
Okay,
that we just getting feedback, sorry.
yeah, that must be on your end.
Make copies. I'll have them brought down.
Okay, is that better?
I'm gonna have them brought down. Yeah.
Oh, okay. James Heath, Wayne County Corporation Counsel.
Thank you.
Greg Hurst, Director of Facilities Management and Planning.
Very good. I think it's because you probably have both of them open at the same time.
Okay.
Or are there three of them open?
No, it's just the.
Just the one.
Okay.
Yeah, so we'll switch off.
Okay,
Back and forth. So just in terms of going over some things that we talked about in our last meeting and through the last report that you've gotten, you recall, we've had a number of conversations about sprinkler head systems inside of the facility. And Greg can speak to this, but we have replaced over 60 sprinkler heads with a different model from a different company. And we want to thank the sheriff's office because we couldn't do that without them because they've had to move inmates around so that we can get Greg's employees inside of the cells to do the replacement. And we still have more to do, but they've, quite frankly, the sheriff's department in the midst of their jail management system being affected has been able to accommodate us to do that. So I want to thank the undersheriff and Chief Dunlap for all they've done to make that happen. Greg, you want to talk a little bit about the process for these sprinkler heads and what we've experienced so far?
Well, looks like we're okay. All right. Absolutely, would love to. So in collaboration with the sheriff's office, there are a couple of things that we've looked at. We looked at the frequency of occurrences and of where we're having the sprinkler head issues. And we also looked at, to James' point, what is a potential solution to ensure that, or at least have a better outcome where we're either less to none of these occurrences happen again. So once we identified where these frequencies were, we developed a plan to pilot new sprinkler heads. And so we looked at several different versions that were designed more for this type of facility. And we came up with a different model that we have since tested. And so far, we're looking good with our pilot. And what that entailed was we partnered with the sheriff's office to completely change out the sprinkler heads, the sprinkler head systems in one full housing unit. And we have another unit that we're going to do once we're able to get that coordinated. And so far, so good there. And then also, if there were any one-offs, in any other areas, we've replaced those with the newer units as well. So we're going to continuously monitor how these new units work. And that's why we did a pilot to see if it was worth it to continue using these new models. And at this point, like I say, so far so good. But we're going to continue to partner with the sheriff's office and monitor this. And there are a couple other areas that were high response areas for us that we're going to go ahead and pilot those areas as well.
And just so you're aware too, when a sprinkler head is damaged by an inmate, what ends up happening is you got water just running. And so you've got those issues that we have to deal with is really the destructive part. It's not necessarily that the sprinkler doesn't break, the sprinkler doesn't work. It's that you've got water gushing out and it's running, causing damage. And so one of the things that has been helpful, Greg and his team have been working with the sheriff so that when a head does break, sheriff's deputies are able to cut the water off quickly to minimize any sort of damage that occurs. And so that process has been working well. The job was spec'd for detention grade heads, and that's what was installed. But we found that a different model we hope is going to be more secure. And so we have been working with the architect and the general contractor on that. I don't want to say a whole lot more than that about it because this is going to be an ongoing discussion that we have with those stakeholders about what was installed and the like. But we are going through that process, and I think we have a hold on it. It has slowed down dramatically since we got into the facility. No problems.
I know that some questions that I had along those lines is what type of a new head, and how do you look at it and tell that it's not going to be creating the same problems? I mean, I understand that breaking the head off is going to cause flooding, but I'm talking about the ones that we've had a loss of life, and how we make sure that that's not going to happen, or at least minimize it.
I'm sorry, did I hear you said that we've had loss of life with respect to this issue? Is that what you said?
Well, that's the reports. That was and that was in the newspaper in that.
No,
That
there's,
there were two.
so that's a completely separate,
That's not
issue.
Oh.
There's been no injuries to
not related
any
to that.
inmates related to anything having to do with our sprinkler system.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
It just, the running water causes property damage
Right.
and the like, but there has been no injuries whatsoever
Oh,
related to these
okay.
sprinklers
I
at all.
beg
No.
your pardon. That's what some of the reports were, that there'd been two lives lost. But anyway, that's settled in. But the new heads, are they, I think you alluded to the fact that there's going to be some discussions continuing about who's going to pay for the new heads and how they got approved. But I mean, we can wait on that report, but I'd like for us to have a update on that as we go along, maybe by the next meeting, hopefully, to let us know.
I think our discussions relative to the heads that were installed and designed are probably going to go well beyond our next meeting, just to be perfectly frank with you, Mr. Chair. But what we have been focused on immediately is ordering and getting a product which we think is going to improve the situation. And so far, it in fact has. And
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Anything else in your report? I
just a
started
couple more
at
things
11.
on the report, but I mean, if you got questions on the sprinklers, happy to.
Okay. First I have Commissioner Kinlock.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Since this was, since the issues regarding the facility and some of the damage that was caused by inmates have made the news, I appreciate the administration meeting with the chair and also keeping us aware of what is that you all are having discussions with the sheriff with the sheriff's administration. I appreciate the fact that you all are working together to address this. But what I want to make it very clear is that we all are in this together. And when I say that, it is that we need to make sure that this building is secure. We need to make sure that you continue to do what you're doing, that it was built in a way that will continue to maintain a sense of safety as well as longevity for this building. I understand when individuals have ill intent. I don't care how many sheriff deputies you have or how many folks you have in a facility. If folks have ill will and ill intent, reckless intent to create damage and chaos, they're going to find a way. And so what we have to do is make sure that the folks who we trusted in building this facility, that we all as a county government entrusted and built this facility, that they built it and utilized the best equipment. But let me say this, if you think we need to make immediate adjustments, we stand here as a commission ready to make sure that you have the resources to secure that. And we will go after, as you say, we will support you in going after whoever we need to go after as it relates to if it's determined that the proper selections were not made in the construction of this facility. But I appreciate the hard work and the conversations and the teamwork that you all are having. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Commissioner Clementi?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for those comments. I just had one question. You're talking about the sprinkler heads. It's on a pilot kind of program. Are we eventually going to replace all of the sprinkler heads throughout all the units if we find that they're better than the other ones? Or are there areas that maybe they're not, they're fine and we don't have to worry about that? Just if you know.
No,
the answer.
that's a very good question and definitely valid. So one of the things that we have noticed is it's typically within the same several housing units where this has occurred. And this is why the pilot was to switch all of those in that particular area. And we're focusing on those areas. It generally has not been an issue in other areas throughout the building. So that's one thing we noticed. So it may not be and we're still looking through, should this be a building-wide change? It may come to once we finish our pilot and we monitor this, it may not need to be anything further. But that is something we are looking at, and that decision has not been shot down or necessarily made just yet to do it throughout. But we have isolated where our areas of trouble have been, and that's where our focus is to date. And just to make sure, and I do want to say thank you to the commission. You have been very helpful with the support. We do feel that support, from the commission itself. So thank you, Commissioner Kinloch, for that. For your comment regarding that, and for all the commissioners on that. The other thing too that I do want to mention is what we're really focusing on outside of course, health, life, and safety is, to James's point, we've been focusing on being very strategic with how fast and efficient when I say we, the facilities team is. Our concern, of course, is always health, life, and safety, but initially we have a large impact with mitigation of additional cost due to any damage for these events. So we have beefed up our staff, and in partnership with the Wayne County Sheriff's Office, of course, to ensure that we can act very quickly. So we have additional staff that's coming on board. We have additional staff manning more hours so that we can ensure that when an event does happen, we're able to quickly react, which mitigates, the need for cleaning and any loss or damage to items. And those are the major things that we would see from our department is loss or damage to something.
Just follow it. I appreciate the proactiveness that you have seen that there's problems and now you're addressing those. Your pilot program, is there a time frame on it? Did you tell us that, or is that something you don't want to say?
So the time frame to complete, the change out of all of those sprinkler heads is immediate. We don't have an official date that I could say it'll be done. I have this as my end date. However, I could say right now it's ASAP is what we're looking into. So it really comes down to, we have more on order, so that we can complete that. So it's timing of supply, of those heads. So it's procuring those to ensure we can complete the pilot, but then also or we can coordinate the movement of the inmates. So two things now, there are some, the additionals are on order. And then also, once those come in, we'll be working with the sheriff's office to make sure we have a plan of action so that we can finish that pilot. And then as soon as we have dates that I can give you a little more concrete answer there, we'll definitely follow up. Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So we don't know whose budget this is gonna fall on to pay for?
So as of right now, it's coming out of the CJC budget that we have.
But we have
the
another
purchase.
process going on, trying to figure out, I guess, liability for this, or?
So we have, and Greg will get to it a little bit further down our presentation. We have a warranty process that we have with the general contractor and the builder of the facility.
Right.
And so, well, the warranty process with Barton Malow. And we are making an assessment of, and that's just per the terms of the development agreement, Commissioner. And so we are making an assessment of all of the issues that we have whenever an issue arises, and we say, is this something that we feel was not designed properly or not installed properly or what? And so we are making that determination, not just with sprinklers, but with any item that comes up. And so that will be something that we
Well,
will
I'm
continue
concerned
to
about
address.
that too. So right now, the discussion is between the county and Barton for who is gonna pay for this? That's where the discussion is?
So we have not had discussions yet
Okay,
with the developer or the general contractor about a claim relative to the sprinkler heads. That's what I'm saying.
would this involve arbitration? A third party to come in and make a call on who is responsible here?
If we got to the point where we instituted a claim, the development agreement does spell out a process whereby we would resolve that. Yes.
Short of a claim, us making a claim, we're just gonna pay for it?
No, I'm saying that if we come to the conclusion that there was a problem with any aspect of the design or anything with respect to construction that we do not believe, that we believe would be the responsibility of a third party, the county will make a claim to address that. What I'm telling you is that we have not gotten to that point yet. That's what I'm suggesting.
But there's a process.
There is a
if we make
process
the-
per
okay.
the development agreement. Yes.
Who are all the parties involved here? Who would we make a claim against?
The development agreement specifically lists the general contractor, which is Barton Malow.
Yeah, this
The
is the agreement
architect,
between Rock and the
HOK.
county.
The development agreement spells out the claims process
Yeah.
that we have.
And
And-
who's the parties to that agreement? Who's the parties to the development
The-
agreement?
Bedrock
Yeah.
was the developer.
Right.
HOK was the architect for the facility. The Barton Malow is the general contractor.
Right.
And the agreement spells out if we have a claim that is made about something that we feel was not constructed or designed properly, it spells out who would be responsible and the process for that. What I'm telling you is that we have not submitted a claim
No, I got
about
that part.
responsibility yet.
I got that part. But the vagueness, I'm not, because the financial responsibility here, just like at your house at home, you have a pipe that goes bad in your bathroom. It ain't just the plumbing, it's your flooring, it could be electrical. A lot of other things could be affected by these floods. Have we had damage as a result of these sprinkler heads?
Yeah, so
I mean, going off and flooding everything.
yeah, I mean, so we've had significant cleanup aspects that we've had to address. We're assessing any sort of electrical damage at all as well, and those are all things that happen as a result of water spewing that we are in the process of
So potentially
determining.
part of a claim.
Potentially.
Because I'm also looking, I mean, it takes a little while to shake down a new building and really see what you have. We're really just getting into the heating season, right? And so if it turns out there's issues there that, you know, we've got areas of the building that aren't properly heated, that the system, whatever, doesn't, that would follow the process as outlined in the development agreement then, if there's disputes on that?
Yes, so if for some reason we thought that there was, you mentioned HVAC, if we thought that there was a problem with HVAC
Right.
and the HVAC system was not working, the development agreement and our claims process spells out how we are to address that with the general contractor.
And I don't know if we want to do it today, Mr. Chair, but I'd be interested in having a presentation on what the heck that process is. You know, do we go hire an arbitrator that looks at this? What is the process?
I think, as is, Mr. Heath mentioned, that we have that agreement. If we could just, maybe you could pass it along to us and send it, just
Certainly.
summarize that portion of the development agreement.
Well, I think
And-
it's important that the commission understands what that is and what the money is that's involved and
Sure.
where we're going and what it really says in the
We won't know
agreement.
some of those answers though, and, right immediately. It's gonna take some time to determine what it's going to be.
No, the process
Yeah.
is laid out in the development agreement.
Right, right.
I don't know anybody around this table, with maybe two exceptions, can tell us exactly what that process is. and
No,
where
they
we're
had,
going.
well, let me just say this. They did come and talk to us about the whole process when we were talking about what if we had a disagreement in determining, you know, the move-in and turnkey and all those things there. So they've come here a few times and explained that process, but I understand what you're saying. Just send out a reminder as relates to the process. And that's fine because, you know, you've made a presentation. The chair has required you to come. And I remember when I was chair, you came a couple of times, but you know, if you can basically lay that out and send that to all the commissioners. Yeah.
Well, Commissioner Kinlock, I mean, we all knew in that agreement that we have an agreement that says this is what the county owes, this is what Bedrock owes. And if there's issues with that in the actual construction, right? That there was a way to negotiate that out, like was it a change order that we asked for or whatever? So we kind of knew this, but this is after the building's open.
Oh, no,
So I wanna,
general
if I may, Commissioner, so I want to know, now that the building's open, I understand what the process was during the building. We have to change this, we have to change that, change order stuff. And I want to understand post, because there may be other problems with the building. We get a foundation that settles, I don't know. So post the opening of the building and turning it over to the county, what is the process at this point? What does the county have in its quiver to stand up for itself? That's what I'm looking for.
So,
Commissioner.
thank you. So, Mr. Heath, right now, based on the observed and understood damages and issues associated with the building, the agreement, the master agreement speaks to addressing the general contractor. And that's what I think you're trying to work your way through, the general contractor, architect, and just identifying who would these various issues that you all may have identified or may discover in the future, where that claim will be filed. The first step you said is a claim has to be filed against one of those involved parties. And then if there is a dispute, then that's when the whole conversation associated with identifying what do you call it?
Third party.
The arbitration.
Yeah.
Arbitration would come into play. Is that correct?
So the first step, and Greg will walk through it with you, how that warranty process works. If we discover something that we think is amiss in the building, workmanship, product that was installed, whatever you want to say. The first step is Greg and the FM team, they make an assessment of, you know, what is wrong and what do we think is going on. And then we have a pretty robust process of filing a warranty claim with the general contractor, in which case, and that's Barton Malow. And so in which case they would examine the issue themselves and say, yes, we think, you know, we are responsible, we are not responsible. They would give us a formal answer. Based on that answer and the determination that Greg and FMP people, as well as any experts that we want to bring in to decide it, if there is a resolution, there's a resolution. If there's a dispute where we differ on that, we would be addressed as we go forward.
Is any of that, okay, as
We
you're
have
doing
not
this
gotten to
determination?
that point
Right, I
with
see what you're
anything at
saying.
this point.
So what I'm also asking is any of the assessment preventing you or delaying you from immediately responding to an issue? So in other words, you are responding to immediately shoring whatever the incident is up right away.
No, not at all. And that's why what we're reporting to you now, and you will using sprinklers as an example of saying, listen, if we think that there's a better product out there, we're taking steps to secure that product, install that product, so we stop the issue in its tracks, and then we'll go back and decide, you know, assign blame to that if it is appropriate.
Okay,
And so we're not stopping or
anything,
waiting
so,
to
yeah,
do
'cause-
anything.
And no delaying getting to us any action contracts, whatever. But let me just say this, we need to know in quick order, as you discover at some point, you're still exploring the issues associated with potential claims that may be filed against the warranty. So if you could, I guess at some point, you've been very transparent throughout this entire process, good, bad, and ugly. But so as you're assessing, and I know this is still early in it, but bringing those items, you know, that you intend on filing warranty claims against, that'll be good. Yeah.
And just so you know, there's nothing magical about the warranty claim. I mean, they're small issues too large. And so if the prosecutor's office were to say, hey, a door is sticking, for instance, right? We'd take a look at it and we'd say, and Greg, you know, would have his carpenters out and decide, okay, why is this door sticking? And if we think it was installed improperly, we'd communicate with Barton Malow and they would address or have one of the subs that did that level of work for them have that addressed. That happens on a regular basis, and it's put into a system that FMP tracks so that we know those items that we forwarded to Barton Malow say, hey, we think something is amiss here, or we think you need to address something. And so we meet with them on a regular basis, weekly, as we go through these sorts of
You
issues.
remember you gave us, what was that, what was that punch?
Punch list.
Punch list, you gave us a list of various things. So if it can be in that order at, you know, at the appropriate time, because I know that there's a lot going on, a lot of moving parts. But I'm saying if it can be like just as a information item as relates to those various things, you know, because it's still early in this building. Yeah.
Absolutely. And so this might be a good, I'm sorry, was another question?
I was just going to call on Commissioner Baydun. He had been waiting.
Thank you. That's okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do want to echo what my colleague Commissioner Kinlock stated earlier. It is our objective to make sure that this state-of-the-art facility is safe for all the occupants and whoever comes in, and it's tamper-proof. And I appreciate your proactiveness on dealing with this issue. I just have a quick question. Like this warranty that we're talking about, is this like for 1 year, the warranty? Usually in construction, you know, a warranty in the state of Michigan, I think it's for 1 year. But I think this probably does not apply for a big commercial facility like this. What is the amount of time when we're talking about a warranty if we were to file a claim? Is it 1 year, within 1 year, within 18 months, within 2 years?
So we reserve the right to file a claim if we discover that there was some faulty issue at whatever point we were to discover it. We have, per the development agreement, for most systems, a 1 year process whereby we are working hand in glove with Barton Malow, say we have a problem, they come right out and address the issue. But rest assured, if in a period beyond that, we discovered that there was some major design or operation or the operational construction flaw that contributed to damage to the building or the like, we maintain the right to be able to address it with whoever is the appropriate party based on the item that we're talking about.
Okay, so it's outlined in the agreement. On
It
the
is.
sprinkler system issue, during the design stage of this new facility, who would have made the decision to install this type of a sprinkler system? Would that have been the contractor, Barton Mello, or someone else?
So and I have to be careful the way I answer this, just because this is something that we're still assessing and getting. The design calls for detention grade sprinkler heads.
Okay.
And the sprinkler heads that were installed were in fact detention grade or met that spec. The actual product that was installed would have been decided by or called for by the architect, and then Barton Mello, as general contractor, in consultation with Bedrock, would have made the decision about exactly what unit was installed. And so the process that we are going through, Commissioner, is backtracking and looking at that entire process to make sure that what we received was the appropriate item for the facility that we have.
On that point, James, would the sheriff department be involved in selecting these sprinkler heads or giving their input in terms of safety? For example, the inmates able to break these sprinkler heads. I mean, would the sheriff department be involved in their input?
So, yeah, so the sheriff's department would have the opportunity to comment at every step of the way, although it's not their responsibility they're not the designer of the facility. And so there's no blame or assignment with respect to the sheriff as to the sprinklers that were installed or the sprinklers that we have. And so I don't want to suggest that in any way.
Okay, my final question, I don't know if you have thought about this or somebody has the answer. If all of these sprinkler heads were to be replaced, do we have an idea about the cost?
We don't have a number for you
Okay.
today, Commissioner.
Okay, thank you.
You said you had 60 right now that have been replaced, correct?
So a few more than that, but yeah, we've had maybe we're getting closer to 100 now. But yes, once we included the full housing unit that we changed, the number does go up.
So do you know at least how many sprinkler heads there are in the facility, right? I mean, they've done an inventory to check that to see how many. So we should be able pretty easily tell us, how many they're going to be replacing and how much they individually cost and the labor involved.
And I think great question, but due to our research of where these, first I'll say we do know the number. I don't have the number in front of me, but of course we know the number of units and then the sales within the units. They do vary, but yes, we do have that number, just not in front of me today. In regards to the number for full replacement, because we've isolated this to maybe just a handful of housing units where we've had these issues, where the majority of the building has had no breaks in multiple areas, in majority of the areas, we have not fully looked at the overall cost to do the entire ADF building.
I have a follow-up question.
Commissioner Baydun.
Just a follow-up. Mr. Hurst, do we have experts within Wayne County government who can make a assessment on these sprinkler heads, or do we need to go to an outside source, so to speak, to solicit their expertise in terms whether these sprinkler heads are safe to have, or do we have the capabilities within Wayne County to make that determination?
So if we got to a point, Commissioner, where we were going to submit a claim, not a warranty claim, but a claim because we thought that there was a design flaw. And this would be relative to not just sprinklers, but anything. We would have to, we would make sure that we would have the experts involved on some issues, Greg and his staff, because that's what they do. But on other issues relative to, things unique to a jail facility, we very well would have to get some sort of expert opinion in making that claim. But as I said, we're not at that point
Okay,
yet.
thank you.
And I also want to say, listen, the sprinkler heads breaking or being destroyed. I shouldn't even say breaking; they're destroyed, right? Is not unique to this facility. I mean, Greg and his team repaired a number of sprinkler heads at our old facilities as well, and so this is not a new phenomenon. They're tamper resistant for a reason, because inmates do try to destroy them. And it's our job to make it as difficult as possible for that to happen.
I know you mentioned there's something else you wanted to modify the last report that you said an addition or something.
Yeah, and so in our last report, we talked a little. Several last reports I've talked about kind of the claims process and just even the work order process. There's not claims that we use. It's a new system that we are asking our end users to how they communicate with F&P about things that they need, whether it's chip paint or, something, a clogged toilet, for instance, and anything much more serious. And so I've asked Greg to prepare a small, short presentation on kind of what that system is, and so that you will understand what the end users you're speaking to, how they communicate to us, how we record that, and how we track it. So, Greg.
Thanks for kicking that off, James. So nothing different than what we've done in the past. However, it is a new system to James's point. So we use a CMMS system, which is a computerized, basically it's a computerized system for maintenance for work orders. Right. So what the stakeholders are able to do within the facility is they go into this system, formerly known as Avanti, for stakeholders that have been with the county until we've moved over to the CJC, which is now known as Brightly. And what Brightly does is if you are a stakeholder in any of those departments, what it allows you to do is to put in a work order request. And James was alluding to it, it could be a large request or small request. But essentially all of our stakeholders have a designee from their department who is responsible for submitting those stakeholders on behalf, those work orders on behalf of their department into Brightly. Once that goes into the Brightly system, our forepersons are able to take a look at those, assign those to the correct trade, and then we go into the actionary component of performing that work. I can say that all of the stakeholders within the CJC who have been designated are trained to use this system. They were trained either in person. We started with the transition teams, and then once we started to be more populated, we opened that up to the additional people that would be populating the building, and they were trained either in person or virtually. And then we also have a training video that we share because we know there may be new team members and new stakeholders potentially within the building. We also use this for our other buildings as well. But it was, like I say, it was a new system, and we started it off with the CJC itself. One of the things that I do want to say is the work orders could be anything from the broken sprinkler heads. We want to capture something that is more on the critical side, all the way down to the low side where it's, I'm too hot or I'm too cold in the area. Now, I will say that's a tricky one because that could start off as I'm just too hot, but we could do the review of the situation and figure out that that may be potentially a critical issue. And so we would change that within the system and then address that accordingly. So although it is a new platform, the concept is very similar to the Avanti program. And I would say if you haven't used a work order system, it's very similar to if someone were to create an IT ticket, where, you know, it could be, I need a new computer or new software, or I lost my password. So we capture all of these items. We're able to set this up to capture it by building and by the stakeholder. So we want to hold ourselves accountable to ensuring that whether it's large, small, critical or not, we want to, you know, make sure that we take care of those work orders that are within the system as well.
Do you have a handout or something that you want to, on this? It doesn't,
Yeah, what Greg is going off is a draft, but we
Okay.
will be supplementing the system with a final version for you.
okay,
Yep.
all right.
And so I would say, oh,
That's weird.
okay. Lastly, I do want to touch on the warranty process. We did talk about that a lot. The warranty process would be very similar. If someone sent in a Brightly request or work order request, and the FMMP team, my team goes back and says that temperature control is more of an issue with the air handler unit and not the actual just readjustment of the temperature itself, then we would look to see if that is something that is maintenance, normal maintenance, that could, you know, take care of that issue. And if it's not, then we develop a warranty claim to ensure that that unit is being repaired under that 1-year warranty. And those are the conversations that we're having actually multiple times weekly with Barton Mallow in regards to warranty issues. So we're looking at warranty, we're looking at Brightly for just a normal work order request, and we're tracking both consistently and keeping tabs and keeping track of that work.
I wanted to just mention to everyone, we have some of the top brass from the sheriff's department
Yeah.
sitting here, and I don't want them to be feel like they're not being part of this discussion. So I wanted to give you guys an opportunity. First, let me go to Commissioner Kenlock once again.
Okay, quick question. At what point and I guess how many times does an incident have to occur for a work order to become, oh, this is a claim, we need to file a warranty claim before this warranty expires? At what point are there measurements or certain determinations that's being used?
So as far as the warranty piece, it's not necessarily how many times, it's what is the cause. So for example, under the warranty piece, it depending on who does the work, right? It kind of determines whether you continue with that warranty or to potentially void it. So what we're able to do is to take a look at what the actual cause is, if we can determine that, before opening up a unit and potentially voiding a warranty under the warranty process. So we go and we take a look and we try to determine what the cause is. If we can determine what the cause is without physically doing something to the unit that would potentially void the warranty, we would definitely communicate that. If we don't necessarily know the root cause of the issue, that goes into the warranty claim as part of the notes. And that's where the conversation begins to happen to ensure that whatever that problem is, not only do we fix the surface issue, but we go deeper into the root cause as well.
And I think there's a good example, and I think it's appropriate that the sheriff's department is here on an issue that we're dealing with on an ongoing basis that we're wrapping our arms around right now, and that's with detention glass in the facility. And so we have had instances in which inmates have broken out detention glass. And one of the things that, you know, the sheriff is providing to us because of the cameras in the area is video footage, hopefully that will show exactly how the glass in the instances that we can get footage, how the glass was broken. Because we are in the process of having to make a determination of, is it the appropriate glass that was placed in the cell? Is it too thin, or is it not, you know, not containing the correct material, made of the correct material? Or was there an installation problem? Whereas you might have the proper glass that was not installed properly. Or, you know, did the glass operate according to the rating that is supposed to, and there's some other issue as to why it was broken. And so that goes to the point Greg and I are trying to make about the investigation that has to occur so we can determine what it is that we're dealing with, right? And so that is why, you know, it's not a snap judgment that something breaks and that there's faults into it. So we have to make a responsible claim, and that's what we're in the process of doing. However, to your point, Commissioner Kinlock, we don't wait to replace things before that determination is made. And so Greg's team right now is in the process of ordering and replacing those glass in those cells so that they can be used by the sheriff in terms of the ADF. And so we don't wait for anything before we move on it.
Okay. I did want to ask about how we're proceeding and what the time over to Gilbert's organization.
Properties have been turned over. You no longer have the right to go into Frank Murphy Hall of Justice. Yeah.
Okay, so we're not running against a timeline or past a
No,
timeline, right?
we've passed, we've decommissioned the facility, the old buildings,
Okay.
buildings we used to call the Rock buildings, and they've been turned over. Keys have been handed over.
Okay. Do you have anything else that you want to add? I wanted to ask the sheriff's department to come up if they have any questions or anything they'd like to get. Mike, would you like to, and Under Sheriff Dunlop?
You mind if we remain at the table in case there's any questions for us? Okay.
Well, sure. I mean, or you can just, there's other mics here that are functional. So, I mean,
Good afternoon.
afternoon.
So I don't have any questions. I think the gentleman here did a great job of explaining the details on what's going on in our facility. I would like to preface and emphasize on, we've heard a lot of negative, but there's a lot of positive. This is a beautiful building. It's a beautiful facility. It's a breath of fresh air to be in that building. We left 100-year-old antiquated jails where heat and air conditioning didn't work, elevators didn't work, fire department was called every other day. So, you know, we react to the news story and we react to media being negative. I'm here to say that I enjoy going to the facility. I am actually, for the first time in my career at the Wayne County Sheriff's Office, I take showers at the facility. The bathrooms are very clean, got a brand new, beautiful workout facility that I've been using 3-4 times a week. So, you know, with all the negative, I believe there's a lot more positive. And, you know, going back to what one of the commissioners mentioned with a new facility, I think Commissioner Colleen mentioned that, you know, with brand new house, you got to let it settle. Yeah, there's going to be issues where it's going to happen. And unfortunately, in the correctional business across America, these things happen. It doesn't make it right. It doesn't give us an excuse, but it's a reality of operating a jail. You know, sprinkler systems and broken glass doesn't make it right. We're doing everything in our power to avoid it, but it comes with the job. It comes with our responsibility, and we're dealing with it. Chief?
I think you said it all.
Thank you both for being here. I appreciate it very much. I know I had an additional question for our folks at the end of the table here. I wanted to ask about what's going to happen with Dickerson when we vacate that building, because I understand there's some type of an agreement that the county had a number of years back that would continue to cost the county of, I believe it's $1 million a year.
There's an agreement with Hamtramck about that. The CFO and the executive's office are kind of working out a plan for how that facility is going to be used going into the future. And so I don't have any definitive statement for you right now about what is going to happen. But you are correct. There is an agreement with Hamtramck about as long as that facility is used as a jail, that there would be a payment made to the city.
So sound like you're saying as a jail. So are you saying if it's not used as a jail, if some other use is determined for the facility, then we would not be responsible for the.
Right. And so I'm just telling you that, yeah, with the confines of the
Working it out.
agreement, what the, 2 years from now, what that facility will be used for is just not something that I'm able to report on right now, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate the sheriff's department being here. Thank you, guys. I it is, I mean, lately it's been a lot of negative stuff in the press and that, and it certainly causes concerns with all of us, I think, as to what, if there's something that wasn't done correctly when the building was built. But I think it is, I mean, I've been in the facility 3 times, you know, from the very early stages to just before it was the open house. And it certainly looks like one hell of an improvement over what we had, the other facilities that we had. So I think this is just a rough patch we're gonna go through.
Yeah,
And
You're right about that. You know, and I want to commend the sheriff's department, quite frankly. I talk with Dunlap 3 times a week, probably, on issues related to construction or the things that need to be repaired, all the way over to, you know, attorney visit situations. And so in our next report, you'll be getting some hard numbers about professional visits, and I know you've read stuff in the paper. But you know, I got numbers just today about the number of in-person professional visits that have been occurring at the facility, and they're doing a phenomenal job. Even in the face of the jail management system being down. And so we are working collaboratively with them. They are our partners in every sense of the word. And I want them to know publicly how much we appreciate the work that they do.
Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
likewise.
Thank you. If I may,
Sure.
through the chair, I would like to commend Chief of Jails and the executive staff. You know, they moved 1,400 inmates without a flaw, and no one knew when we were doing it. It was almost a top secret mission, and it was an amazing job done by everyone involved. You know, 1,400 inmates is not an easy task. It's a very hard task. So I'd like to publicly commend our sheriff's office and Chief Dunlap and the rest of the executive staff on a phenomenal job with that they pulled off. It's great.
Yeah, we appreciate that as well. And I know that everyone, I think, was concerned about that move and how that was gonna the transfer was going to work and whether there were going to be any problems, and thankfully there were not. And I think the professionalism of our department is owed a huge thanks for doing a good job. Any other questions by any members of the committee? No? No. Tony, since you're here representing the prosecutor's office, did you wish to say anything? Bring us up to date on what you guys have experienced in the prosecutor's office.
Through the chair. Tony Guerrero, Chief of Legislation, Grants and Community Relations for the Prosecutor's Office. I have to echo what the Undersheriff and Chief Dunlap have said. The issues that we have are really minor. I would call them punch list items, simple things like that. As ridiculous as when are we going to get window coverings because our people have glare in their eyes and can't see their computer screens. But to my knowledge, there has not been in our area of the building any major problem that's been brought to the attention of either the sheriff's department or corporation counsel. And as always, I am very impressed with the job that Greg's people have done and with James Heath's job, which in my view is an absolute craziness. This man has got so many responsibilities that it's beyond my comprehension. But we're very satisfied with our new quarters. As I say, there's a few punch list items, but it's a new building. We're in what I would call the shakedown cruise, and we really don't have any complaints. We have one person who is actually in charge of communicating any issues that we have. So I would just say to the committee, this process is an ongoing process and will continue to go forward. The quarters that we're in now are night and day compared to where we were in Frank Murphy. And that's really all I have to report. Thank you for recognizing me.
Yeah, great.
Your
Thank
window
you.
treatments have been ordered and they're on the way, just so you know. And so I want you to know that. And also, I mean, listen, items big and small, right? And so we've been working with, for instance, I don't know if anyone from the clerk's office is here, but they've brought up issues relative to 2 doors on the first floor that we're working through. And when this week they had an issue with wanting to place an alarm on one door so that they could determine this is an emergency exit door. And so Greg and his team installed the alarm this week and put up a sign to make sure so that they had a concern about whether someone could come in or exit that door. They wanted to, have a level of security there. We're still working with the clerk and the fire department and others on locking a door that they would like to have locked. And we just need to make sure that it's that we're allowed to do so under the fire code. But it's, we continue to work through issues with our stakeholders, and they put these things in the Brightly. We have a system of checking, and that's going to be how we go, throughout. And so we appreciate the stakeholders and them letting us know about problems that they have, and we will continue to work through them.
James, I did talk about a punch list and that I did want to ask the issue that I brought up about the jury room. Was that not an issue when it went into practice of juries coming in? And you probably don't have a lot of people come in for jury duty that are in wheelchairs or unable to use the doors, but I was talking about the main entrance to the jury room.
Yeah, and so the design and construction is ADA compliant. That is certainly true. But that's an example of things after we kind of get through some of the humps that we're working on now, where if we look at it and say, hey, maybe there's an easier, a better way to do things, that's something that we are certainly keeping track of.
But it hasn't been a
as for that
problem.
particular issue, it's not been a problem whatsoever.
Okay.
The design is compliant with ADA. But that doesn't mean we can't improve on things. And so, that we continue to try to do so.
Very good. Appreciate you all being here, and I'll move the agenda along, and thank you for being here, and really appreciate your input. Thank you. Madam Clerk,
Item E, such other matters as may be properly submitted before the committee.
I know of none. Did anyone else have additional? Next item.
Item F, public comments.
Anyone from the public that are present here wish to make a comment? See none. Anyone online?
There are no hands on Zoom and no emails were received.
Okay. All right, with that, I'll accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
It's been moved and yes, it's my vote.